it is my great pleasure to invite Ferose, VR, who is the Senior Vice President at SAP Technologies. He's based in Palo Alto. He heads the SAP Academy for Engineering, where the chief goal is to train next-generation engineers for talent for whatever is coming next. He formerly headed the Globalization Services Unit at SAP and was responsible for enabling the global adoption of SAP products worldwide. A few years ago, he was selected as one of India's top 40 under 40 by the Economic Times. He has co-authored a book, and actually several books. One of them is on the #1 list for the Amazon books list. So with that, it is my great pleasure to introduce to you Ferose, who will be talking about heart intelligence, the final frontier in the age of AI. Welcome, Ferose.
Thank you. Good morning. Can you guys hear me? The lights are pretty bright. They said 15 minutes first, and then they kind of said, okay, we did a little bit of negotiation, 20 minutes. But I'll try to leave you with some insights, hopefully that stays with you for some time. But before we get there, how many of you are from IIT Kharagpur? Can you raise your hands, please? Woo! I grew up in Kharagpur, but didn't get to IIT, okay? I just want to let you know a little bit of my roots. I grew up in Kharagpur. My father was in the Indian Railways. My brother, who was 5 years older to me, went to IIT Kharagpur. He was in the electronics department, and he lived in Patel Hall. Any Patelians here? It used to be called Basti at some point. He graduated in 1990, from 86 to 90. So when I grew up, I could actually see the IIT building behind my house. So it was kind of a dream to go to IIT. I tried to get into IIT. I gave JEE twice, failed both the times. So it gives me a great delight to be standing in front of a lot of accomplished IITians here. So I actually, as I said, I used to attend Spring Spree, spent some time in my brother's hostel, and met many very accomplished IIT Kharagpur people. As a child, they used to see me as a younger brother, especially people like Harish Hande, who was a Magsaysay awardee. There's another Magsaysay awardee, Arvind Kejriwal. So they were all people whom I grew up with. So I have a great regard and admiration for people from IIT. As I said, because my brother was in IIT, I tried to go there, didn't get through. Finally, I landed up doing computer science from REC Warangal, now called NIT. What I want to do is really give you a different context to AI. And I've been, everybody talks about AI. I've been very fortunate to meet some of the greatest thinkers on AI, and I have created some of my own point of views. Everybody speaks about decoding the future. I must confess, nobody has a damn clue. Anybody who says that he can decode the future is faking it. But all you can do is probably ask the right questions and hopefully trigger some thoughts and imagination. And I'm going to leave you with a few insights. Let me ask you the first question. How many of you are AI optimists in this room? Raise your hands. This has to be a group of engineers to do that. How many of you are AI pessimists? Please raise your hands. And all I mean when I say AI pessimist is people who are skeptical, because everybody knows there is a good side and a bad side. But overall, if you're an AI optimist, you want to say that I think the good is more than the bad. And so you are an AI optimist. An AI pessimist actually believes there's more bad than good. So I'll try to unpack that in my own ways. So people ask me the same question, Ferose, are you an AI optimist or an AI pessimist? I say on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, I'm an AI optimist. On Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays, I'm an AI pessimist. On Sunday, I'm so confused that I give up. Okay? Because that's what happens. Unfortunately, today happens to be a Saturday, so today is my day of AI pessimism a little bit, but I want to challenge and give you some insights, and hopefully 5 simple insights which will hopefully trigger your imagination. Can I have my slides? I'm going to tell you a few stories, but I just have a few slides to put my context. I have a 15-year-old son. And so you can imagine a lot of my friends have children in the same age group. And a lot of my friends keep calling me and asking me, Ferose, what should our children study so that they get a job in the future? Right? This is the most common question that people have, because they are now getting into college admissions and people are like scared. What's the point of doing engineering when there are probably no jobs? So they used to call me all the time and say, what do you think, Ferose? And 5 years ago, I used to tell them that teach them STEM, coding is the way to go. And last year, Jensen Huang, who was here, said, coding is dead, everybody is a developer. So now I basically call all my friends and ask for an apology, because I say teaching STEM is good, but it's not going to differentiate anymore. So here is my first insight. The subject that has to be taught to every child, which is going to be a differentiator, is arts. It's humanities, it's psychology, and it's sociology. STEM is the new age literate. If you want to be called a literate, you need to know STEM, but that's not going to differentiate you anymore. It is arts and humanities that is going to be the biggest differentiation. Harvard has written a whole study on this, and I'm telling this because at the SAP Academy for Engineering, where we wanted to build the future engineers, we teach humanities as much as technology. And I go to conference after conference, people are talking about technology and AI strategy. Most of them are bullshitting, by the way. I can tell you for a fact, if you don't understand the human element, you are driving on a highway in the wrong direction. Please understand this. And don't listen to some of the best technologists, because they are all telling things with an optimization that is beneficial for them. Listen to the psychologists, listen to the sociologists, listen to the greatest philosophers, and they will tell you what the truth is. And I'll tell you something which was fantastic. E.O. Wilson said this many years ago. He came up with the theory of everything. He said something incredibly profound more than 25 years ago. And he said, we are living in a time of madness, where there is Paleolithic reactions, medieval institutions, and godlike technology. We are living in a time of Paleolithic reactions. That's what you see on social media. We live in medieval institutions and godlike technology. Sam Altman said this beautifully: we will live in a time of AI, we will create great companies, and the world will come to an end. And he removed that quote, by the way. Now, whom do you want to believe? Please be careful of what you guys are cheering up for. And I am a technologist, by the way. I understand technology pretty well. But be very careful of what you are asking for. I want to give you 5 core insights based on the conversations that I've had with the greatest AI thinkers around the world. Just 2 days ago, I hosted Amy Kurzweil, who is the daughter of the greatest AI futurist. He, in fact, accurately predicted with literally what is the timeline of the change that will happen. 50 years ago, there was a whole conference done at Stanford just to understand whether his predictions were correct. Almost all of them said he was too optimistic. He was the only guy who got it right. I spent time with him. His daughter was with me 2 days ago. She is a very interesting person, because she's not a technologist. She is a New Yorker cartoonist. And she wrote a book called Artificial, and what she's trying to do is very interesting. She says human beings die twice. Once they die is when they die, and the second time they die is when people forget. They die when people forget them. So she's now creating not a chatbot, but a dad bot, a grandfather bot, because she says, I want to be in conversation with my grandfather, whom I've never met, who was a very famous pianist. These are the edge use cases which I think will be absolutely transformational. Let me tell you my personal story. I have 2 nonverbal children, and I'll show you a photograph of both of them, just to give you a little bit of context. And if you want to really understand the true power of technology, listen to the non-technologist before you listen to the technologist. Please do that. On the left, I don't want to listen to Elon Musk anymore, but that's a different story. This is what Sam Altman said beautifully: AI will most likely lead to the end of the world, but in the meantime, there will be great companies. Jane Goodall said this beautifully. Ever since I was a child, I've dreamt of understanding what animals are saying, how wonderful that is now a real possibility. And I'll tell you why this is important. If you had a choice, whom are you going to listen to? This is my 15-year-old son. I said I have 2 nonverbal children. My son is 15 years old, profoundly autistic, cannot speak. Because he cannot speak, he has no friends, so we got him a companion dog. Her name is Coco. So now I say I have 2 nonverbal children. But it's incredible they speak in their own language. When people ask me, what are you most hopeful about AI will do? Just a few weeks ago, I heard this happen, and this is true. Human beings are now able to speak to whales in 20 minutes. They were able to speak to whales for 20 minutes, guys. This is the power of technology that I'm interested in, because I am hopeful that one day I will be able to speak to my son. And I know that my son and the dog speaks to each other. It's just that I don't understand their language. If you can speak to whales, I'm pretty confident I'll be able to speak to my son one day. And I'm sure he wrote something incredibly beautiful. He loves to be in nature. I asked him, Vivan, what is your message to the world? He has severe Crohn's disease, incredibly painful. He says, less pain, more love, but even more trees. Because he speaks to them. That's the world we want to live in. That's the real power of AI. Not optimization, guys. Come on. You guys are IITers. You can do so much better than that. So much more better than that. Let me tell you the 5 absolutely true insights. These are 3 of the finest people I've met. Ray Kurzweil on the left. He predicted by 2025 we will reach singularity. He's been the only guy who's predicted it accurately. The guy on the right said something incredibly profound, and I don't do this here at any conferences. He said the world has only changed because of black swan events. And our minds are thinking linear. For hundreds of years, we said working from office is the best way to do it. We had a black swan event in COVID. Nobody wants to go to office. Every company is saying, let's go to office 3 days a week. Complete bullshitting, because nobody wants to go. You are used to working in a certain comfortable way. Anybody who says you have to come to office is basically doing it for their own reasons. It was a black swan event, guys. A black swan event is the only way the world has changed. We think linear. And that's Nipun Mehta. I have said this publicly many times. If I have to make a prediction, he will get the Nobel Peace Prize in the next 20 years. Because he's a humanist. He understands technology deeply. He was the advisor to Obama for peace. That's the kind of people we need. Fei Fei Li is the godmother of AI. I think she's a realist. Ray Kurzweil is a futurist. And these are all incredible insights that people give. And Nipun says, can AI be the third force to disentangle humanities out of the multiple polarities we live? Let me leave you with 5 insights, and I'm not an expert, and I don't claim to know the truth. Okay? But I'm going to leave you with 5 profound thoughts. Hold those thoughts and think about whether it makes sense or not. The first is the following. Data shows by 2025, 90% of the content on the internet will be generated by AI. The truth is the following, and this is a bitter truth. The truth will sink to the bottom, and shit will float to the top. Because we've built algorithms that amplify shit all the time. We all know that, by the way. There is enough data to prove that only 0.3% of the people are toxic on the internet, but they get amplified 20 times by the algorithms we have. Truth will sink to the bottom, shit will float to the top. The only thing that is required is institutions that will keep the truth, uphold the truth. Imagine we live in a world where nobody knows what the truth is, and that's the end of humanity. Truth needs help. And you can look back at history when the book was made. The book was used primarily, the best-selling book was not on scientific Inquiry, the best-selling book, was on witches. When AI will come, truth will sink to the bottom. We need help. Truth needs help. And the only way truth will work is by having institutions that can uphold it. Why do we quote New York Times? Because it tells you the truth. But what if none of those exist? Those institutions exist because there are no business models for these institutions to exist. One truth doesn't exist, humanity will not exist. The General Counsel, Vivek Murthy, wrote a book on loneliness. He says the biggest epidemic the world, especially US, faces is loneliness. We created a world by a dream, by saying we are going to connect the whole world. And we live in the largest epidemic called loneliness. You know what will happen with AI? We will create artificial intimacy. That's just a fact. It will happen. I have seen kids, my nieces and nephews, falling in love with ChatGPT. They don't talk to human beings anymore. And you all know it. You are not exempted from the consequences of what you are creating, even if you don't exist. And I'm telling this to you. Each of you have children. I have one. And you have a moral obligation to build a technology that is right for the next generation. Hollywood got it all wrong, by the way. Everybody thinks that we are going to have a robot rebellion. It is not a robot rebellion. It is going to be AI bureaucracy that is going to be even more dangerous. Wars are going to be fought where people will be killed and people will not know what the algorithm did. This is bigger danger. There is no robot rebellion. This is good for a movie, by the way. And I've spoken to every expert. They say this is not happening. But what is even more dangerous is AI bureaucracy, where people have infinite power in a certain sense, but it's a black box. You don't know what is happening. That is more dangerous. And we know wars are fought this way. This is more dangerous than the AI rebellion. What are the jobs that will exist? You know, people bullshit all the time. Oh, no jobs will be lost. Come on. You guys know it better. I've seen jobs go away. I'm an executive in a large company. I'm not against technology at all, but tell the truth, guys. Okay? Tell the truth. So people ask me, Ferose, so what is the kind of jobs that will exist? I said, I don't know. The only jobs that will exist is eye contact jobs. And why am I saying this? The hardest profession to get is caregivers. An hour of a caregiver for my son is $100, and you still can throw away $100, you won't get one, because AI cannot take care. The only jobs that will exist, that will not be outsourced, at least for some time, is eye contact jobs, where you need to feel. You know, when you make a phone call and you hear an actual person on the other side, it shows that you calm down. Why does that happen? Have you ever thought? When you make a phone call and instead of getting a recorded message, you actually get a human being on the other side, you feel so good. Why? Because you know that the person on the other side can feel your problem. AI can't do that. And let me leave you with this final remark. What Industrial Revolution did was it automated our hands. What AI is going to do is it will automate our brains. Heart is the final frontier. The only reason we will exist is because we can't automate the heart. You can fake it, but you can't feel. And many technologists will argue, oh, AI will be able to feel. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but I hope I'm wrong when it comes to that. The day AI is able to feel, empathize, and show compassion, we're done. You know, the word humankind has the word kind. For you to be really human, you have to be kind, you have to be empathetic, you have to be compassionate. If you're doing all of that, you're good. But if you forget that, if you don't teach your kids that, don't ask your kids what did they learn in school. I always say, ask them, whom did you give, whom did you help, whom did you serve? That's a better question to ask. Thank you very much.